lost and I know where to go now. I don't really have a place to call my home now. Everybody hating on the physical now. Why do everybody make me feel alone? Like I'm trying lost and I know where to go now. I don't really have a place to call.
I had been almost 5 days since Fu had gotten better. She, like the doctor had predicted, got better almost exactly around the time that they had guessed. She would, at the moment Naruto was watching the doctors doing the final check up on Fu, he avoiding making physical contact with her. Instead, just asking her several questions. Naruto stopped paying attention halfway through, but was still paying a little bit of attention. Alright, seems like you're clear to leave the hospital, the doctor said. Looking at Fu, when he said this, he left the room, and Naruto looked at Fu when smiled. When the doctor had left the room, Fu got up from the bed and stretched. It felt nice knowing that go home and not having to stay here. There's are far too many people here for my liking, Fu said, looking at the blonde beside her. Naruto smiled hearing this and looking at her. Yeah, it's be nice to get back home to training with Guru, Naruto said, looking at her. Fu nodded, hearing this, and opened the window. Naruto knew why she did this. She planned to leave the window. Naruto couldn't really blame her for this. If she had left though the door open, she'd be faced with several people staring at her. She jumped out the window and landed on the building beside the hospital. Naruto smiled seeing this, and he did too. Jump out of the room. He landed beside Fu, and the two started to jump from building to building. When the two got home, they saw two unexpected males inside the house. Kakashi and Sai were waiting for them. What are you doing here? Fu asked, looking at them. When the two males heard this, they turned to their face at them, and one of them smiled. Fu, it's good to see you. That you're well, the elderly male said, looking at her. Fu wasn't expecting this. She wasn't used to anyone besides Naruto being nice to her. Thanks now. Back to the question. What are you two doing here? Fu asking, looking at them. Well, we need to talk to Naruto. Both of us have something we want to discuss with him, Kakashi said, looking at the two in front of him. Oh, okay then, Fu said, looking at them. I'll go first, Fu. You actually need to be here for this, Kakashi said, looking at her. Okay, Fu said, looking at him. When she said this, Fu sat down on the seat across from them, and Naruto sat beside her. Well, Fu, I don't blame Naruto for not telling you sooner. Chances are he didn't know until today. However, I believe that you have the right to know. I also ask that you don't think any differently of him because of it, Kakashi said, looking at her. He didn't know why he asked the last part of his sentence to her, but he thought it was the right thing to say. Okay then, what is it? Fu asked, looking at them. Naruto, like yourself, is such a Cherokee. You probably don't remember because you were unconscious at the time. However, he used a tail beast power when he was fighting with the other attackers, Kakashi said. Looking at Fu was surprised at to hear this, and looked at Naruto. She now understands why he had left the village he was born in. Fu turned her head to Naruto and saw that he was looking a little bit nervous. When he and she saw this, she placed her hand on Naruto's, causing the blonde to look at her. Naruto, it's alright, Fu said, Looking at the male when she said this, Naruto smiled and looked at the two males that were in front of him. So what was it to you wanted to talk about, Sai? Naruto asked, looking at the male in front of him. I would actually like to speak with you in private, Naruto, Sai said, looking at him. Naruto didn't know why, but he didn't like the way Sai was talking about him. He may be smiling, but something about him smile seems off to him. Okay then, Naruto said as he got up from his seat and followed Sai. The two went into the kitchen. Naruto looking at him. So what is it do you want to talk about, Sai? Naruto asked looking at him. When Naruto asked this, Sai pulled out a small piece of paper and handed it to him. This is the year of the Chunin exams will be held in Konoha. I would very much like to see you there. You are interesting character that shows a lot of promise. I want to see you there so that the both of us can move up in the ranks, Sai said. Looking at Naruto, Naruto once again having a problem with the way Sai was talking. However, despite his natural instincts, he took a piece of paper from Sai. I'm not sure if the three of us are ready yet, but I'll consider the idea, Naruto said, looking at Sai. When Naruto said this, Sai once again smiled, causing Naruto to have an uneasy feeling. Sai then turned and left the room. When he did, Naruto followed behind him and looked at the two were in the room. Naruto watched as the two left his house. When they did, Naruto turned his attention to food, and she smiled. So, you're like me? She asked, looking at him. Naruto nodded. When she asked this, and Fu walked over to him, then that just means I have another reason to love you. You're the only one who can have any idea about what I've been through, she said, looking at Naruto. Naruto heard this, he felt his face heat up slightly. He still wasn't used to hearing Fu saying things like that to him. He didn't mind it, of course, but it still managed to make him uncomfortable. Naruto then opened the door and, looking at Fu, wanted to go to find Shiro and Goro. I'm sure that they want to know how you're doing as well, Naruto said, looking at the female in front of him. Fu nodded when Naruto asked this, and the two walked outside. The first place they went to is Shiro's house. However, when they knocked the door, they found out that he wasn't home. The two looked at each other in confusion until Fu spoke up. Maybe they're already gone to training grounds, Fu suggested, looking at Naruto. Yeah, that makes sense. After all, they haven't exactly heard anything from us for some time now. I would have imagined that girl been training Shiro this entire time, Naruto said, looking at Fu. The two of them turned around and started to head towards the training ground that their team always meet at. However, as the two got closer and closer, they started to hear yellings. At first, the two thought that they were hearing things. However, as the two proceeded, it came instantly clear that they were not just hearing things. When they were finally able to see the two of them, they decided to just stay out of the way for now and just watch what happens unfolding in front of them. Please just calm down, Shiro, girl said, looking at the young white haired male in front of him. Calm down, calm down. You, despite for more than 8 years, I spent almost half of my share of my family fortune looking for you. I was so worried that something had happened to you. Now, you're telling me that you knew I was looking for you the entire time? What the hell is wrong with you? The last you could have done, at least let me know that you were alright. You were the one of the only person and the only reason I became a shinobi and began with. I wanted to find my father and mother. May not care about you, but I do, Shio said, looking at the taller male in front of him. Shiro understands you're upset with me, but if you don't calm down, then girl began only to be cut off by Shiro. Naruto and Fu couldn't see what had happened to Shiro because of how far away they were. But girl could see that Shiro usually blue eyes had turned into brilliant golden color. No, I won't calm down. Did you even know how worried I was? Did you even care or ever you consider about stuffing your face full of sake? Shiro shouted, looking at the man in front of him. Guru tried to place his hand on Shiro's shoulder, but when he did, Shiro slapped it away. Guru didn't let it show, but his slap that Shiro had just given him felt more like a boulder was just slammed into his arm. Shiro then backed up, and when he regained his balance, he slammed his foot on the ground. When Shiro did, Naruto and Fu both fell on the ground beneath the shake slightly. For the few moments, everything went silent. Shiro turned around and started to run in the other direction. Naruto and Fu both surprised to see how fast Shiro was running, seeing how he was never running that fast before. Naruto and Fu then walked up to Girl. Is even alright? Naruto asked, looking at the elderly man in front of him. No. While Fu was in the hospital, Shiro found out something that I wanted to keep hidden for him for a little bit longer, Girl said, looking at him. What would that be? Fu asked, looking at the girl. When she asked this, the elderly man sighed and looking at Fu. It's a long story. I'll tell you two later when I have some free time on my hands. For now, I'm going to go look for Shiro, Guru said as he started to walk away. When he did, Naruto and Fu looked at each other. Do you think if we went and found Shiro, he will tell us what's going on? Naruto asked, looking at Fu. I'm not sure if he'll tell us what's wrong, but if nothing else, we can go and see if there's anything we can do for him, Fu said, looking at Naruto. The two of them started walking back into the village, and then when they did, they went to Shiro's house. When they knocked, they found that Shiro once again wasn't home. I told you he wasn't going to be home, Fu said, looking at the blonde in front of her. I know, but it wasn't worth the shot, Naruto said, looking at her. The two then started to walk down the streets. So where do you think he went? Naruto asked, looking at the green hair girl beside him. I don't know. Maybe he went to the park. He seems to like spending outside out from his apartment. From that, I always see him at the park when I walk around, Fu said, looking at him. Alright then. That's the first place we'll try, Naruto said, looking at Fu. The two then started to make their way towards the park. When they arrived, they both found Shiro was at the edge of the dock. The two of them smiled. However, Fu was smiling for two reasons. The first was they found Shiro, and the second was that was the place that she had first met Naruto. To think she would never have met Naruto if she hasn't seen him here alone with a fox. I wonder what happened to the fox, Fu thought to herself as she looked at Shiro. Hey, Shiro, is something wrong? Fu asked, approaching to the boy. Nothing is wrong. Don't worry about it, Fu